Hey, everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, June the 13th. This is a big astrological week. First of all, on Monday, the 13th, Mercury goes back into Gemini. In early May 2022, Mercury went into Gemini, where it's very strong because Gemini, the planet of communications, is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communications. But Mercury went retrograde on May the 10th. June the 3rd, just a few days ago, Mercury went direct. But when it goes direct, it's starting from a standstill, very slow. So our mental faculties are slow and more sluggish. So it takes time until Mercury catches up to speed to really start making all those important decisions that you've been thinking and planning and brainstorming for the past 6 weeks or so. So this moon or Mercury goes back into Gemini, where it's particularly strong. The mind is quick and agile. And you can be making more of the best choices from the best information. So that's starting Monday. Also, the moon that sets the public tone is in outgoing, adventurous Sagittarius. And in mid-afternoon, Pacific Daylight Time, that Sag moon will be in harmony with assertive, ambitious Mars. Now, that's also a good period for taking a risk, going on an adventure, starting an exercise program, but starting to feel more confident to take more chances. Then on Tuesday, the 14th, is the full moon. We have a full moon once a month. The full moon can test relationships in general, but the full moon brings to light anything that's been hidden, or when any projects you've been working on start to fully manifest. Sagittarius, with that full moon in Sagittarius, that Sagittarius is all that adventurous energy, that optimistic energy. However, the moon will go void of course at 7:59 a.m. Pacific time until 3:14 p.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon goes into more calculating, pragmatic Capricorn. So with the Sag moon, especially with the Sag full moon, there's more of this enthusiasm and optimism for adventure, for socializing, really being more out there in the world. Then the moon goes into Capricorn, and it's time to get back to work, accomplish your goals. So that starts mid-afternoon Pacific time, where the moon will remain in practical Capricorn for a couple of days. On Wednesday, as the moon continues in calculating practical Capricorn, it's going to be in a hard angle with competitive, impatient Mars from about 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. But the moon will then, after it moves off of the Mars a bit, is going to be in harmony with Uranus, liberating Uranus. So that could mean 5 p.m., around 5 p.m. Pacific time, that moon Mars feeling really impatient and restless and want to move forwards. And then just within an hour of all that anxious energy is when the moon is excellent with Uranus, and now you're breaking free. You're starting to come up with original ideas. You're feeling less blocked. Along with that, from midday Pacific time until Thursday through the late morning, the sun will be in harmony with Saturn. The sun's in Gemini twice a year. It'll be making this harmonious flow to different planets. And on Wednesday into Thursday, the sun that puts a real spotlight and focus will be in harmony with business, structured, pragmatic Saturn. Really good day, the Wednesday into Thursday, for starting a new business, starting a new job, having business meetings, especially later in the afternoon, early evening, Pacific time. You're feeling all this excitement and passion to really push forwards. But here's the sun excellent with Saturn, really favorable for business. On Thursday, the 16th, the sun still in harmony with business Saturn, the first half of the day, Pacific time. The moon will go void of course in Capricorn at 11:52 a.m. until 2:45 p.m. Pacific time, at which point it moves into Aquarius. From Capricorn to Aquarius is an interesting shift. Capricorn, on one hand, is about convention, tradition, doing it the way it's always been done. It's just this real kind of a goal-oriented, hardworking energy with the moon setting the public tone. But then when it goes into Aquarius, Aquarius is more about the future. Capricorn was more about the past. Capricorn is more conventional. Aquarius is quirky, unconventional energies, more open to progressive ideas. As an example, if you were feeling something's wrong with you physically and you wanted to see a doctor, a health practitioner, with the moon in Capricorn, you would have gone the traditional way. But with the moon in Aquarius, you might be more open to seeing a holistic doctor or any alternative health measures. Now, on Friday, the moon will continue in quirky, progressive Aquarius, but from early evening Pacific Daylight Time, the moon will be in tension with Uranus. But Uranus is the planet that rules the sign Aquarius. So it's not so much of a conflict, but a lot of compelling energy here to break out of any stuck energies. Now, Aquarius can be very futuristic, very unconventional. But the thing with Aquarius is it's still very stubborn in nature. I know what I know. I'm not changing my mind, even if you're looking at progressive new ideas. But then when it's in a hard angle to Uranus, you're ready to break out of that box and be more open. On another level, that early evening, Friday, when people are going out to dinner, to parties, etc., you might be more open to doing something completely unconventional, something you've never done before. Saturday, the moon continues in Aquarius, quirky Aquarius, but it will also go void of course from 11:50 a.m. Pacific time until 4 p.m. Pacific time, at which point it goes into more empathetic, sensitive, romantic Pisces for a Saturday night. But Venus, in the first part of the day, Venus is the planet of relationships. Venus is that planet of love and creativity. Venus will be in a challenging aspect to Saturn in the first part of the day, Pacific time, and then later in the day, it's in harmony with empathetic, intuitive, imaginative Neptune. So you might be, let's start with Venus is creative. You might feel creatively blocked. Or you might be feeling that creatively you're stuck. And then later in the day, when Venus is excellent with Neptune, you feel inspired, stimulated, and So you're breaking through any creative blocks. Venus is love and romance. You might be wondering earlier in the day, Pacific time, with a Venus Saturn, is this relationship good for you? Should you continue pursuing it? If you've been in a long-term relationship, you may be feeling blocked and stuck with connecting, with communications. But later in the day, and it's a Saturday evening, could be very romantic. You get over all that more negative, controlling energy and feeling more inspired and optimistic. Sunday on the 19th, the moon continues in Pisces, but discerning communication Mercury will be in harmony with expansive Jupiter. Mercury Jupiter is excellent for traveling, excellent for studying. It just really inspires a lot of optimism looking at the future. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.